The Ramsey County Board of Commissioners meeting is called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Fretham,
Here.
Mattis Castillo,
Here.
McDonough,
Here.
McGuire,
Here.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Here.
Carter.
Here, thank you very much. The agenda of the December 15th, Commissioner Mattis Castillo, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance while we all mute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The agenda now of December 15th is before you for your motion and approval.
Move approval.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Thank you. Agenda has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, would you please? I don't know where I am today. Would you please call the roll? Thank you, Cliff.
Mattis Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. I know I'm thinking that we have a very full agenda with administrative items, policy items, our updates, and the balance of the morning and afternoon. So it is going to be interesting as we move through this at a good clip, I'm sure. The minutes are now before us. Is there a motion and second?
Move approval. Second.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the motion and second. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mattis Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you very much. I'll turn to County Manager O'Connor for our COVID update. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, members. I'll turn it over to Deputy County Manager and Director of Public Health, Kathy Hadeen.
Thank you, County Manager O'Connor. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This morning, we'll take a look at the dashboard for a situation update. I'll provide vaccine information, and we'll end on information about the COVID Aware Minnesota app for your phone. So over on the dashboard, we'll take a look at the state first. 381,841 people have been confirmed positive since the start of this pandemic. There have been 19,638 people hospitalized to date and 4,255 people who have been in the ICU. As of yesterday, 1,283 people are hospitalized and 319 people are in the ICU. Unfortunately, across the state, we have lost 4,462 people to COVID-19. And as of yesterday, unfortunately, across the United States, our death toll surpassed 300,000 people lost to this pandemic. We will move over to Ramsey County and take a look at the data here. 34,359 people have been confirmed positive to date, and unfortunately 585 people have lost their lives to COVID in our county. If we scroll down just a little bit, you'll see that the daily data graph has changed so that we can see cumulative cases throughout this entire pandemic. You'll see, as we went through spring and summer and fall, it felt as if we had some pretty big waves come through. But as you take a look at the last month and a half, it kind of gives you a reality of how difficult the past 6 weeks plus have been. The good thing is that I truly hope we're nearing the end of these high rates. We are seeing a decline in cases, a decline in hospitalizations, but we're also seeing a decline in testing. I'm hopeful that this is a trend that is trending down. We're not out of the woods yet for Thanksgiving, so we'll continue to monitor this. If we look at the case rates, Ramsey County continues to be a little lower than our neighbors with 49 cases per 10,000 residents. A little bit lower, our positivity rate also is a bit lower than the state at 9.7%, which is probably one of the lowest, except for Hennepin County, across our metro area. If we can move over to the testing site, we are still offering multiple testing sites across the county. The state saliva testing continues to be available either through home tests or through multiple sites in Minnesota, including the Roy Wilkins Auditorium next to the St. Paul River Center. Testing will not be available at that site on December 24th and 25th. It will also be closed December 31st and January 1st. Public health staff continue to provide nasal swab, the tests, including today at Highwood Hills Elementary School in St. Paul from 2 to 6 p.m., December 16th at the Consulate of Mexico in St. Paul from 2 to 6 p.m., December 17th and 18th, testing is available at the Lutheran Church of the Redeemer in St. Paul from 12 to 6 p.m., and then at the State Fairgrounds on December 19th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, if you go to www.ramseycounty.us/coronavirus, go to the health information and click on testing sites, you can register to get tested. Walk-ins are also welcome. We will move over. We do have a new vaccine page that we can highlight as I go through the vaccine information. Let's see. You've likely heard that Minnesota received the first shipments of vaccine yesterday. I wish we had a lot of people in here so that we could all clap, because this is really amazing news. The VA in Minneapolis was the first site in the Twin Cities to receive the vaccine. A little more detail on what we will expect within our state. In Minnesota, we expect an initial supply of 183,000 doses, which will be administered to that many people. Second doses will be arriving in the weeks to come. This week, Minnesota expects to receive 47,000 doses of Pfizer vaccine. In the second and third weeks, the state expects to receive 136,600 doses of the Moderna vaccine, which we're hopeful will be approved by the end of the week. People could start getting vaccinated by the end of this week at the earliest, but most likely the week of December 21st. By people, I'll explain who will be getting those vaccines first. But for distribution, the vaccines will be delivered directly to 25 hubs around the state, which are mostly large regional health centers that already have ultra-cold storage available. From there, the vaccines will be distributed to 118 different spokes throughout the state, consisting mainly of smaller healthcare facilities. Healthcare workers will be vaccinated at their workplace, and likewise, long-term care residents will receive the vaccinations where they live. Those are the first two groups that will be vaccinated. Health officials estimate that it takes about 6 weeks from the time of the first dose before full immunity is achieved. Again, there will be 2 doses of vaccination. The distribution will be a 3-phased approach based on the CDC's approved framework. This gets a little confusing, so I'll try to get through it as clearly as possible. For phase 1A, healthcare workers in long-term care facilities, people in long-term care facilities will be vaccinated. These first sites will be employer-based vaccinations and include healthcare workers in hospitals, caring for COVID patients in long-term care facilities, EMS personnel, and COVID testers. Phase 1A will also be long-term care facilities, including skilled nursing homes and veterans homes. We do anticipate the vaccine to arrive at the Ramsey County Care Center the week of the 21st. Second priority group of Phase 1A includes any hospital worker providing any direct patient care. That will also include workers in urgent care settings and dialysis settings. Assisted living residents will be included in the second priority group. And then there's a third priority group within this phase 1A, also includes adults with intellectual disabilities living in congregate care settings, which would include our Lake Owasso facility, which we're also anticipating vaccine the week of December 21st. There's no final determination yet for who exactly is in phase 1B and 1C, but it could include first responders, police officers, firefighters, in the education sector. Again, this is not fully approved yet. And then phase 1C could include people who are most at risk for serious complications of the virus and people who are 65 and older. More settings will get vaccine during phase 2 when a larger number of doses become available. It's unclear yet when phase 2 will begin, and then phase 3 will be the general population. Public health officials and healthcare are urging you to continue to be vigilant. It will take months before vaccine is available for the general public. While vaccine will be distributed, we will unfortunately continue to see COVID infections and COVID deaths. We ask you to continue to wear your mask in public, continue to maintain at least 6 feet of distance, wash your hands frequently, and stay home if you are sick. Lastly, there is an app called COVID Aware Minnesota, COVIDAWAREMN, that is available that you can download to know that when you're in public, if you've been exposed to somebody for more than 15 minutes who has tested positive for COVID. If you download the COVID Aware Minnesota app for your smartphone, you'll get a notification if you were near someone else who has also downloaded the app and has indicated they have tested positive for COVID. If your phone notifies you of an exposure within the last 14 days, please go get tested. The app works through Bluetooth technology and does not share personal information or data with anyone. All right, this is it for me today. I will turn it back over to County Manager O'Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm going to invite CFO Alex Kutza to share a few comments regarding CARES Act expenditures as we round the end of the year. You've been receiving some written updates along the way as well.
Thank you, County Manager. Good morning. Just a quick update. So as you all know, we had $96 million of CARES Act funding that runs through December 30th of 2020. So far to date, we have issued about $62 million in checks, and we have coded $19.4 million in personnel through November 13th to that grant. We intend to spend every dollar, and we have a plan where actually we are projecting to be slightly over, which is exactly where we want to be right now, so that as unexpected things come in lower, that we have enough cost to charge to the grant. One other thing I wanted to mention is that I will be coming here in January with 2 requests. One, to create a homelessness project, as we've discussed here, regarding our response with Bethesda, the hoteling, and the overall homelessness response. We'll need funding to do that. When we came the first time, I said I would come back with a plan. I'll be coming in January, where we are going to take eligible personnel costs that have been coded to CARES money and shift that money into a project to be spent next year. I will also be bringing a project to request what I'm calling a COVID contingency fund, and that will help us smooth some cliffs into 2021, such as administrative costs needed to finish out some of the projects we're doing and other essential services that people need, things like food and things that aren't just going to stop since we haven't gotten additional CARES funding from the federal government. That anticipates we will get funding from the federal government. This is not funding that can last us throughout 21, but it is funding that we are trying to plan to be proactive so that our community has the resources it needs going into January. As Deputy County Manager Hedin mentioned, this isn't going away in January. So those are my updates. I'm happy to answer any questions.
And I'll ask if Director Kutza can stay up here at the table with us. I'll fly through just a few other updates, and then we'll take any questions members you may have. And I want to highlight one point she made as I transition in around the area of food and basic needs in particular. The need remains great. We're spending approximately $750,000 to $1 million a month currently to ensure people have food to eat in this community. That is just county direct aid, not counting any other sources of nonprofit or community aid. And when we talk about the need for a federal or state level support to continue next year, I would ask that you continue to express the concern around $1 million a month to ensure that families and individuals have food in front of them every day that they're able to eat. That's the dire urgency that we feel as we head into next year. We will do our best to continue to, as Director Kutza put it, smooth the transition beyond CARES, but we simply cannot support this work without our partners. In the area of racial equity and community engagement response, there was a new round of partnerships with trusted messengers and community organizations that went out in November that will last us through the end of 2020. I just wanted to highlight that. There were 24 partnerships. Through that work, this is our second round of trusted messengers, community conversations, and cultural community connectors. This work has been immensely important and significant in our COVID response. It's helped us ensure that people have gotten tested, found resources along the way, and we continue to find ways to make investments. That's an area that we would like to prioritize for future investment in 2021, assuming the opportunity to do so can become available. In the area of homelessness, we had received good news just the other day that the Sisters of St. Joseph's have approved the Project Home Family Shelter in concept to move out of a hotel and into the provincial house on their campus, which they share with St. Kate's University in St. Paul. A conditional use permit will be needed to be approved by the City Council. We're working rapidly to make that happen. There are 2 upcoming community meetings that will be occurring, one next week and then one for the first week in January to talk with the community. Those meetings will include a welcome, background on the housing crisis, family shelter system info, Project Home info done by Interfaith Action. The Sisters of St. Joseph's will be providing some words as well about how this fits with their mission, and time for a community discussion and Q&A. We're very excited. We thank the Sisters of St. Joe's for being another partner that stepped up during this time of need to help knit together this entire system. In the area of small business supports, our community and economic development team is preparing 1,000 supply bags that we and our partners will be delivering to small businesses before the end of the year. This is part of our Ramsey support and investment efforts to utilize federal CARES funding to support small business. These bags will include Ecolab provided hand sanitizer, 3M provided forehead thermometers. Bags were donated by Lunds, Byerly's, and Target. A huge thanks to partners in the CED team who have already distributed more than $8 million in grants to small businesses and is working diligently to award millions more in the next 2 weeks as we go ahead. In the area of early childhood, 2,700 parents applied and 1,300 vouchers are being issued by Ramsey County in the amount of $300 each to ensure supplies are available for effective at-home learning and early childhood education can continue. This is one of the community needs that's been highlighted throughout the pandemic as a challenge. We've been working with families at need to ensure that we provide the sort of support that allows them to have some level of parent-directed resource that can help ensure effective early childhood learning in the home and to prevent learning loss. Ramsey County approves all of the final expenditures. It's kind of like other types of individual waiver programs we've done in other areas of our organization in the past. This has been, we've just seen huge numbers in terms of interest in the program. We've received some great notes and just a few words that we've seen from some of our parents saying, I cannot thank you enough for this amazing gift. It's going to be such a huge boost for our little in-home learning time that we are trying to make work. Our family is so very grateful. Somebody else who received 2 vouchers said, you don't even know how much this means to me and my family to be selected. We truly appreciate this. Happy holidays. Thank you so much. It's very uplifting to see this. Most importantly, this is a great reflection of how research heard deeply about, through their community work with the Equity Action Circle, the need to invest in this type of a program at home, parent-directed resources for early childhood. And I just want to thank everybody for their diligent efforts in that space. Lots of work going on, Madam Chair. We're going to stop there and take questions on anything and everything related to COVID CARES and our response. Thank you.
Yes, there is lots of work going on, and thank you so much. Great appreciation for the updates on vaccine and all that's happening in that regard, and also on our spending for CARES. Very happy to know of the plan that has us coming in a little bit overspent, ensuring that we will utilize all of the funds that have been provided. And thank you so much for the updates on programming through the end of the year and our hopes for beyond as we continue to address the impact of COVID-19. I have a couple of hands up from commissioners. They are coming up. I am going to turn then immediately to commissioners for questions, beginning with Commissioner McDonough.
Thanks, Chair Carter. All good work here on all fronts from everybody in the updates. the one question I have, Ryan, is how are we doing the referrals here for the support packages for at-home learning? You know, I'm sure the demand outweighs what we have available. So what is the process for referring or how we're supporting and selecting families?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Commissioner McDonough. I'll give a general answer, and I'll also have Prince Corbett, who's been choreographing a lot of that work, follow up with more specifics around the specific process exactly used. Through the work with the Equity Action Circle and RESERT, the Racial Equity Community Engagement Response Team, we did applications through like ramseycounty.us. There was a paper and a web-based way you could submit. And then we worked with all of the partners I mentioned through the media and cultural messaging to ensure that we were getting out into community and with the EAC members themselves. I will have Prince follow up with more specifics so that you can see the exact process. You are right. This is one of the areas that we have on our list where if future funding is available, we would like to invest further than we have so far.
I'm sorry, I may have misunderstood. Is Mr. Corbett there today?
No, Madam Chair, it'll be a follow-up piece. I'm sorry. He's
That's
there.
okay.
He's with me in my head, but not here in person.
Gotcha. All right, I just misunderstood that. Thank you, and thanks for the question, Commissioner McDonough. Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you, Chair Carter. So 2 questions. One, a follow-up on the early learning kits. Are we also taking this opportunity to share additional resources with these families, like the state consumer education document that shares resources for Minnesota families with children? And then my second question, which there may not be an answer to today, but I'm already getting questions about it with the package passed yesterday in special session. I know counties will be administering a portion of that. Do we have any information about how those dollars are likely to be distributed and how prescriptive was the law that was passed?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Fretham, just a few thoughts, and if Alex has anything she can add on the financing side of the legislative piece, that'll sound great. I just got a text from Prince. He said he's going to send an email with more specifics, so I'll let him speak to some of those specifics. We do know, of course, that once you find a way into working oftentimes with the county, you find opportunities then to engage further, and well said about making sure we don't make this one handshake, but an opportunity for broader engagement. On the piece at the legislature, there's a lot we're learning as we go. The small business grants is the area that we had the most kind of runway with as it was coming together, and thanks to our CED staff and our finance staff for being a part of that. I'll let Director Kutza share any thoughts she has about the funding and what it looks like.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. One note on the prior question, I know Mr. Corbett will mention this, but we did do outreach directly to the families on our programs to let them know about any children who are in our programs that this was accessible to them. In terms of the state legislature and that money, they have indicated to us that it's going to be a more fast-tracked, less restrictions program, and I know Director Collins and her team are already working on all the applications that have come in and how we can pivot those into this funding. I haven't seen the final bill to know how much money we're going to get, but I anticipate that we have enough applications and enough time through the state to be able to spend all the funding coming our way also.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Matas-Castillo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted, it's really more of a comment than a question. I hope that as people have heard the number of updates in lots of areas, they really appreciate the amount and the capacity of work which is being accomplished, and especially around the area of homelessness and housing and how quickly things are moving. We have a team moving in action to make sure that we have indoor spaces as quickly as possible. And so I just want to say to the community that is watching and listening that we appreciate that their engagement, involvement, and support in this area as we move forward, as well as their patience for people who may be sleeping outside and maybe they're feeling concerned about things that are happening. There has been an increase in fires with people in encampments, and so we are working very quickly to get those folks inside where they can be warm and keep the community safe. And so just want to really congratulate the staff. The other thing I wanted to do is a shout out to the Equity Action Circle. These community members who have really engaged with the county are showing up to everything. And so it's so lovely to see that relationship grow and that they're bringing new voices and unique perspectives to the conversation at multiple tables across the way as we do this work moving forward. And so just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to the Equity Action Circle as well.
Madam Chair, if it's okay, on that first point by Commissioner Matas-Castillo, I just want to add, because the homelessness work does come in segments at different moments in time. So to put it all together for people who have been following, the second site to move individuals out of hotels, individuals and families, is this site now, this provincial house at the St. Kate's campus. That pairs with the Luther Seminary site that continues to move ahead, which frees up hotel space. The state has pledged money that we've been working on the final grant agreements for that will start in January so that we don't lose the hotels but are able to allow them to remain a part of the overall system. Then alongside all of that, the final big component is the Bethesda Hospital site. And the final hearing for that is tomorrow with the Capital Architectural and Area Planning Board. We hope for a positive result on our conditional use permit and variance, and we've been doing all that we can to ensure a successful outcome there. It is those four components together that get us to where we're able to say no one should be required to sleep outside by January.
Thank you very much. We do continue to hear from our community about the work that is being done, and with appreciation for that work. Recently this week, I heard from people who are working with us in one of the hotels, complimenting the work that is being done by Ramsey County employees who are working with our homelessness residents who are now occupying spaces in the hotels, and just sharing how much the work serves as an exemplar for sheltering residents at this time, and how well our staff is attending to the needs of residents and also the respect for the hotels. I want to add my compliments and just so very, very many thanks to all who have been working in support of and at the hotels. And just thank you so much for representing us so well and for working with people in difficult circumstances such that they too are able to represent themselves well in respect of the locations that they're occupying. I just had to add that, and certainly will be looking for opportunities to recognize that work in the future as we celebrate and thank the staff for their making clarity during such a difficult time. I'll turn to Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and just echo my colleagues' gratitude for all that's being done. It's an amazing report by everyone that's given their report today. I just want to continue on with your sentiments about about sheltering our population who are experiencing homelessness. And one of my colleagues usually makes this comment, and I think we all just support our ongoing efforts to get more permanent housing with services, that these efforts that we have, which are so crucial now in the cold weather, that we shelter people, but it doesn't diminish the work that we need to do to really continue our work on permanent housing, that this is the work that's currently being done is more temporary, which we're so grateful for. I want to give a shout out to the Sisters of St. Joseph, my alma mater, St. Kate's. They're living their values, and we know that they do that on a continual basis, and I'm so proud to have come from that great upbringing that they have. So thank you to everyone who's really offering space in this time of need. I have a couple other comments, Madam Chair. One is on the legislative, and I know we're still figuring that out since it was just yesterday and last evening that they passed it. But I'm trying to find my notes too, on just to confirm that we don't have to spend this money by December 31st. I think they're giving us till March or April, or I think it was March 15th is what I'd heard. But anyway, I just grateful to the legislature for giving us a few more months to really get this money out on and obviously we know we want to get it out as fast as we can. So just thanks to that. And then I do have a question on the saliva testing that was in our first report. Just to say, I'm sure we can go online and get those saliva tests. And then if you get one, but you decide not to take it, do they last? I mean, it lasts for a while, right? Do people get them and then hold on to them and then take it when they feel like they need it? Or if you could just comment a little more about the saliva testing, Director Hedin.
Madam Chair and Commissioner McGuire, thanks for the question. You are correct. If you ordered one, you can hold on to that until you need to take it. It will not expire that I'm aware of anytime soon. So hold on to that and go ahead and use it when you need it. There is one free one that gets sent to your home. After that, when you go to order one online, there is a cost. So I do recommend that if you don't need to take it and you don't know that you've been exposed and you don't have any symptoms, I would hold on to that and take it when you need it.
Thank you so much for that clarification. I really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for all of your work. It's really amazing that our county is just really stepping up to do the important work that needs to be done.
And thank you all for your questions. I will, before moving on, turn to the county manager for any wrap-up questions on our update. We have a number of items to complete on our, I'm sorry. Looking to a screen, I do see Commissioner Reinhardt has her hand up. Commissioner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I would appreciate, we've talked a little bit about the legislative session yesterday and the money coming in and so forth, but I don't know that everybody is aware of what this money was for. Yes, it's related to COVID, obviously, but I believe that it was primarily for small businesses. Is that correct? And so I thought it would be important that people understood what this is for, because obviously the impact on these small businesses as we go through this surge is especially difficult. So I just didn't hear that, so I thought I should add that.
Thank you very much. And yes, those funds were for small businesses. The update per Commissioner McGuire is that they don't wrap up at the end of December, but do continue into the spring. So thank you again. I will turn to the county manager then, requesting any wrap up of the report as we prepare to move along in our agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the questions and feedback. We appreciate all the comments you shared this morning.
Excellent. And then we'll just take a few moments to have our moment of silence. I shouldn't say a few moments, but a moment of silence now. Thank you. Thank you. Of course, this is not the only moment in which we reflect on those who've suffered losses and our continuing responsibilities of responding in this COVID-19 crisis. But we do continue to abide by this tradition of a moment of silence during these times, and thank you for that. We'll move on to our administrative items. I'll ask Commissioner Matis Castillo to take us through.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move items number 3, the Ramsey County State Legislative Platform.
And I'd like to pull that.
All right. Item number 4, the Ramsey County Federal Legislative Platform.
And I'll pull that as well.
Okay. 5 is Health and Wellness Administrative Division Annual Authority for Procurement Requests. 6, Community Corrections Annual Authority for Procurement Requests. 7, Ramsey County Community Corrections 2021 Interim Comprehensive Plan. Item number 8, agreement with the City of St. Paul for recording, cable casting, and web streaming services. Item number 9, realigning a school district boundary to accommodate a combination of residential parcel. Item number 10, Affordable Housing Fund project recommendations. Item number 11, transfer of excess municipal, county, state aid highway funds. And item number 12, the Minnesota Public Works Joint Powers Mutual Aid Agreement.
Thank you for the motion. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Thank you very much. There's a lot on the agenda today, as you could tell, of course, as all who are listening can tell by the titles, and it is surprising we could have pulled every item here, except that we have been working through these important acts throughout the year and providing updates there. That said, I believe that 3 and 4 were the only items pulled. And so, with the exception of 3 and 4, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on those items? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Modis Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. And thank you very much. Those items have passed, and we are back on item number 3, which is the Ramsey County State Legislative Platform for 2021. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, can I move both 3 and 4 together? I'd like to
You
move
surely
both
can.
items 3 and 4, which is our state and federal legislative platforms.
Thank you,
And I'll
Commissioner
second.
McGuire. Thank
Okay.
you, Commissioner Modis Castillo. Turn to you, Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Basically, I know we have a long agenda today, but I really wanted to acknowledge all the work that's been done on these 2 platforms. I want to thank my co-chair, Commissioner Trista Modis Castillo. We meet weekly, and our legislative team with Jen O'Rourke, Melissa Finnegan, who have just done amazing work to pull this together. We had our meeting. Just to remind people, we did have a committee meeting on the legislative committee meeting, and we've had workshops on this, and they've pulled together all of the comments that we made during those events. They worked with mental health, housing, transportation to get our policy issues in shape for this adoption today. And we are excited to get the work done starting in January, when we'll actually start officially meeting again to continue our legislative work. So I just want to comment that we had last Wednesday evening, Melissa Finnegan and Jen O'Rourke put on a legislative town hall meeting. They had over 70 people that did Legislative Engagement 101. Just a great shout out to that team. Melissa Finnegan led the session. Jen came in with the question and answer. Commissioner Modis Castillo was there. I was there. We're grateful that the community came in to talk about that. I even had incoming Rep. John Thompson sat in on that conversation. So just thanks for the community engagement work, and just thanks to everyone who did all the work on these platform issues. So with that, I don't know if Commissioner Modis Castillo wants to say anything else, but just thanks. And I know that Jen O'Rourke and Melissa Finnegan are both on the line if there's any questions, but I think that they've done an amazing job of really pulling together all the comments that we've previously made.
Thank you, Commissioner McGuire. And Commissioner Modis Castillo, did you have comments?
I just would second the gratitude and thanks for the great work.
I really appreciate the work that you all have, also the time that you have spent and the organization of this work for us together with staff during the year. Thank you so very, very much to Jen and Melissa as well. And I have Commissioner Fretham.
Yeah, I just have a question. I know during our session in discussing the legislative platform, we had quite an engaged discussion around adding a top priority around mental health care. And I don't see that in there. And I guess I thought there was consensus around adding that, and I could have just misunderstood. So I'm wondering if you could speak to that, why that's not included as a separate top priority and how that discussion was embedded into the platform.
Thank you very much. I'll call on Commissioner McGuire, and I know that we also have staff here, if you would like to call on them. Commissioner?
Yeah, and I see that Jen O'Rourke has come on. I'm going to ask Jen O'Rourke to comment on that. Because I did think that it was going to be added there, and I thought it was there, but I'm looking now to see.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Commissioner McGuire. Commissioner Fretham, that should be on there. I'll go consult the packet right now. I don't have it up on my screen right in front of me, but I'm very confident we added that to one of the top 5 priorities in both the federal and the state platform. And then deeper in the document, change the language to make it more specific and call out mental health as a broader category. So we'll check on that right away. And obviously this hasn't gone to print. We still have time to tweak that language. So I apologize if we missed it, but I know for sure we did the work on actually writing the document and walking it through with our legislative team last Friday.
Yeah, so it definitely should be there. I'm worried that maybe the wrong version got placed on the doc, but that got placed on the board docs, and that we've all been proofing a different version or something. So thank you for pointing that out, Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I mean, I had a question because I know in the meeting I had suggested like a real weedy tweak of some of the child care language, and I didn't see any changes there either, but I thought I'm looking at page 21, and there seems to be only the same 4 top priorities that were there when we had the workshop. So,
thanks. We will double check that all. So if we approve this, then we will approve it with those changes. That would be my motion. That it would definitely include the changes that we had talked about in our workshop, which is on the. Yeah, which has been on the forms that I've been looking at, but you're right. I have to cross-reference it with what was posted.
Thank you very much. I do want to check in with you all, and in particular with our legislative staff regarding the timing, the need to move this forward to ensure that we have our work for the legislative commission, for the legislative session done. We will make certain that we are approving the changes per our last workshop. And with the concern that they are not there at this point in time, I'd just like to request confirmation of the work we need to do from this point moving forward. I know that Jen is there. And certainly would love to hear from the county manager in that regard prior to our taking our vote.
Yeah, Madam Chair, let me jump in if I can on the process side. I think 2 options. One, if you choose to pass it today, we will rotate's not the right. We will share and distribute after the meeting the updated draft that attempts to incorporate all changes as previously discussed. Should the board choose to want to see it one more time, you could take action to lay this over until the 22nd. We will put it back on the agenda next week with the updated draft, and we could ask the board to take action a week from today.
Thank you very much. And so
I think that makes sense. We don't need to spend any more time on it than that, but I think it's cleaner that way, Madam Chair. I agree. I think that would be the way to do it then, to just lay these 2 items over until the correct version gets posted. The one that we've been proofing, and we'll just make sure that gets done, and then we approve it next week.
Thank you very much. Is that a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair. That we lay this over until next week.
And that does include then 3 and 4?
3 and 4. I'll just do both of them. Yeah, because these items were on both platforms.
So there is a motion to lay items 3 and 4 over until next week to ensure that we have the correct versions of changes here. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, so a motion to lay over replaces the main motion. At least that's what I think. That is correct.
That's correct.
And then if no additional discussion, we are prepared to call the roll.
Martis Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you. That motion passes. And again, thanks so very much for the work that has been done on the administrative agenda. Albeit there may be just a need to see that final document to ensure that we are moving forward the changes as we have proposed. We're very grateful for the work that has happened in this regard and know that we will be moving forward swiftly next week. Thank you very much. We're done with our administrative agenda, and then on to the policy items that are on our agenda before us this morning. So thankful to be able to move through a motion, and I will ask for that motion on our 2021 amended operating budget and the 2021 tax levy. I'm sure Commissioner Reinhardt would make that motion.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner Reinhardt and Ms. Castillo, for the motion and also for your work for us so that we have had a process of the budget in 2020 moving into 2021, the amendments as necessary. And I'm going to turn to Commissioner Reinhardt to share some thoughts. Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The 2021 budget was approved on December 17th, 2019 as part of the 2020-2021 biennial budget. It called for a spending increase of $21.4 million over 2020 and a 4.5% property tax increase. As we are all keenly aware, in 2020 we have experienced the impacts of a pandemic, significant economic downturn, and civil unrest. Since March, staff have been actively responding to the pandemic by getting over $96 million in CARES Act funds to the community through various programs, and working to make thoughtful decisions about the 2021 budget and the increased impacts on our residents and businesses. As a result, revisions to the proposed 2021 budget were presented in August. The spending increase was reduced to $7.2 million over 2020, and it reduced the property tax levy to 0% for 2021. No small feat. The county board held multiple hearings in August and September to hear details of the recommended 2021 supplemental budget. 2 public hearings were held. On September 10th, we held the first public hearing. There was an in-person and virtual option, as well as opportunities to submit questions or comments to the chief clerk. On November 30th, the second public hearing was held via Zoom for the community to comment or ask questions. We had 55 resident and business attendees join this hearing. Residents were also able to submit comments or questions to the chief clerk throughout the budget process. Today, December 15th, the county board will give final approval to the 2021 budget and set the final 2021 property tax levy. I'd like to highlight the approach to this budget in an unprecedented year. The approach taken is consistent with our values of prosperity, opportunity, well-being for all, and being accountable in our service delivery. There were no layoffs or furloughs so that we can keep serving the community. We are continuing to elevate the important work for racial equity and compliance, and our approach ensures that the areas with the most needs were not reduced, specifically financial assistance, workforce, public health, and economic development. We achieved the reduction to the planned levy increase in 2021 through the following changes: $14.2 million from service teams and departments, primarily by holding unfilled positions open and extending fleet depreciation, $2.8 million in one-time fund balance. So this is our rainy day fund, and I think we can all agree this is a rainy day. $2 million in deferred technology investments, and $1 million in projected interest reductions. There have been opportunities for addenda to come forward and for discussion on the budget throughout the fall. And we have provided options for community input and reflected board actions to date in the budget that is before us today. As you know, on November 30th, we received a letter from the Sheriff's Office outlining their budgetary issues for 2021. Our county manager and chief financial officer have provided responses to each issue, which includes options to keep the public safe while achieving a structurally balanced budget for the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office in 2021. I am confident that County Manager O'Connor, CFO Kutza, Deputy CFO Earl, Sheriff Fletcher, and his staff will work together to make the necessary budget adjustments with no levy impact. It has been a difficult year, and I want to take a moment to thank Vice Chair Commissioner Matas-Castillo of the Budget Committee and all of the county board members for your hard work. The executive team, directors, and staff at all levels for their work on the 2021 budget. And I especially want to thank the finance team for their work in pulling everything together. We have maintained a focus on our mission, vision, and values, and I am proud of the work we have done as a team. Madam Chair, I respectfully submit the 2021 budget and setting the 2021 property tax levy for approval. Thank you.
And thank you so very, very much for your chairmanship of our budget committee, along with Commissioner Matas-Castillo, who's vice chair there, and for all of the work that you have done. You said it's been a rainy day. It has been a torrential storm indeed, and we so appreciate everyone's work to ensure that throughout this process, we have been able to structure our work and accommodate a budget that provides for safety and security in all of the work that we are doing to support our community. I want to make certain that I call also on Commissioner Matas-Castillo, who is vice chair of this work. Commissioner Matas-Castillo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I also want to echo Commissioner Reinhardt's words of gratitude to our staff who have worked very hard to make this budget happen, to the county manager who has led the way and the team, as well as our CFO, Alex Kutska, and to Commissioner Reinhardt for chairing the budget committee and really working through this. It is a tremendous amount of work to make sure that we continue to maintain our strategic priorities, even in this very lean time. And it's something that we can be very proud of. The work we're doing around transforming systems, talent attraction and retention, housing stability, and really in every department in this organization is so hugely important for the future of our communities. And we can't let those priorities fall by the wayside, even in the middle of this global pandemic, and this budget allows us to do that. I do want to share a word of caution as we think about what next year's budget will look like. At the same time, I appreciate the 0% levy increase has lowered the burden for property owners in this very difficult year. I think it's really important to also center the fact that those benefits have been really unequally distributed across the county for some of our neighborhoods. And this is because many of our neighborhoods, as we know, are still recovering from the last economic downturn. And, people in places like Summit Hill and North Oaks are seeing their property taxes decrease, and they need that as well. But people with much more modest homes in places like the North End are still seeing near double-digit increase. This is happening because their property values are finally recovering from our, 10 years ago when the markets crashed. But our efforts to hold the levy steady don't necessarily work for them at this time. And so it's really important to realize how this works as we move forward. Even more, by restricting the amount of money that we have to work with, it puts us in a situation where our ability to be flexible in responding to their needs become limited over time. And so, as I said, throughout this process, the 0% levy increase is not sustainable going forward. It's necessary in this year, and we've done great work to maintain our priorities. But it's really going to make things even more painful for us in years to come as we work to make up for the capacity we're losing this year, just due to inflation and the cost of living and other impacts on our low-income communities. So I do want us to be very cognizant of that in the years ahead, because it's just not prudent in the long term as we consider the overall needs of our entire community. And so I greatly support the work, and I think that this timing is appropriate for a 0% levy, but just want to put a word of caution about the overall impacts of our community and what is sustainable into the future. So thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you again, Commissioner Reinhardt, for your incredible work. I know you've put long hours and a lot of time and commitment and your heart into this. And as we have said years and years, that our budget is a reflection of our values, and I think we can be very, very proud that we have stuck to our values and our commitments in this budget. Thank you, Madam
Thank you very much, Commissioner Matas-Castillo, for your work and for your word of caution as well. I do see Commissioner McGuire's hand is up.
Oh.
I don't know if it might have been left over.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
It's left over, sorry.
Thank you very much. So we have our budget before us. It has been motioned and seconded, and we have been in discussion. Clearly, Commissioner Maris Castillo's word of caution is a note that the budget work never really ends. We have a 2-year budget. We've amended that second year, or with this motion, we will have amended the second year should it pass. And we are immediately undertaking then a view toward the future and the next 2-year budget that we will need to set. So it is wonderful that we've gone through this year of observing the needs, creating the work, and that we do have this budget before us now, motioned and seconded and ready for a vote. And as it passes, we'll be getting down to the work of our next 2-year budget. So I believe that we are prepared with no further questions, and I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Maris Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you so very much all for your work on this budget as it passes and prepares us for the year 2021. And we'll turn then to item number 14, which is for approval of our 2021 capital improvement program budget and financing. Is there a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. And I would like to call on our Finance Director, Alex Kutza, for a few words and overview of the action that we are taking. I'll go to County Manager O'Connor and ask if, in fact, our Finance Director is there and my comment.
Madam Chair, our Finance Director is here and ready to go. Take it away, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. As you can see in this action, there are a few actions you're taking today because when we originally presented the budget in August, we didn't have the detailed actions related to the capital budget. Therefore, you're passing the overall 2021 capital improvement program, but as we discussed then and have talked about since then, we are creating an affordable housing investment project by moving the golf study project, or taking the funding that was originally dedicated to the golf study project, dedicating it to the affordable investment project for 2020 and 2021, and then asking the library operating fund balance to replace the Maplewood Library remodel funding, and using that original money that was in the capital budget to also be dedicated to the affordable housing investments. So overall, you have about $8.9 million in the affordable housing project that you are approving today that is coming from both the Maplewood Library, which is being funded with their fund balance, and the golf study project, which will be pushed to a future year. Then you have a change in the Highland Arena, which is just replacing the name, and the overall program being the overall 2021 capital improvement budget with all of those amendments being passed today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for this overview of the changes that are before us today in the capital improvement program budget and financing. And thank you for your incredible work with us this year, Director Kutza, for the opportunities that you provided to help us see our way through to do the work as needed. And some of the very exciting work that is happening here is indeed due to creativity and energized staff work, as well as the vision and commitment of this board and all our staff. Thank you. I do see that there is a hand raised. Commissioner Maris Castillo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that, again, this is a representation of us living our values and redirecting funds into the areas. As earlier in the comments, Commissioner McGuire said, all of our work in homelessness means that we need to go upstream and make sure there's affordable housing. And we passed earlier on the agenda the approval of a plan that these funds will then fill for recommended projects around affordable housing. And so we just approved today with these funds that we'll approve now the St. Paul residence, which is 120 units that are directly for single men that have been homeless with disabilities or chronic substance abuse, as well as 60 new units of truly affordable housing for seniors at the Ford site. So this is a demonstration of how we are doing this work. We're working quickly, but we're living our values and going upstream. And I just wanted to say thank you and to really lay that out on what this does and how it works and filling those needs as we talk about them. So thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you so much for that summary, clarifying the work that is moving forward as we take this action. Again, thank you to Director Kutza for the overview, and I see no further hands, and so I'll ask that the clerk call the roll.
Miles Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire, You're
Commissioner
on mute.
McGuire?
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Carter,
Aye, and thank you very much. That motion has passed. All right, done with the resolutions on our board agenda, and I'm going to move on then to County Connections with County Manager O'Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few updates. Two exciting updates out of Workforce Solutions, working with Information Services. A number of members of the board were able to participate with community in some of these events as well around the integration of IT, job training opportunities and certifications directly into our work in Workforce Solutions. So in two areas, just a quick update. The IT Careers Pathways work with Ramsey County has been moving forward, and there was a meeting last week that involved Ramsey County job seekers meeting with staff from our Information Security Department. And what Ling Becker, our Workforce Solutions Director, wrote back is, I can't even tell you the amazing feedback we've already been getting from participants and counselors. My inbox was going wild. And this started as a conversation between the Workforce Director and the IS Director and has blossomed into an entire Pathways conversation, engaging community. It brought HR into the work as well. And it's really a big move forward. And I want to commend different areas of our organization for working together to serve people and prepare them for the current and future careers that are available across our community. In addition to that, I know that Commissioners Carter and McDonough were able to join in a piece last week celebrating Ramsey County BIPOC women who have been graduating from a project called the Catherine Project. And the project is named after Katherine Johnson, a Black woman mathematician pioneer at NASA. The participants will receive a certificate of completion and taking a Microsoft Technology Associate exam as a part of that certification. And this is the county's first major push into IT training, and we're excited to continue to grow our work and opportunities in this sector. The pandemic has illustrated how important technology is in our world, and we are excited to connect more county residents with skills and opportunities to plug into the tech sector. It really aligns with our strategic efforts from the Workforce Innovation Board and the Economic Competitiveness and Inclusion Plan. So I just want to commend Ling Becker and the entire Workforce Solutions team, everybody else from our elected officials to staff for supporting that, and most importantly, our community members who are saying, give me opportunities, I'm ready to go and excited to succeed. Last week, AMC, the Association of Minnesota Counties, had their annual conference, and Ramsey County was recognized with 2 County Achievement Awards. I believe there were 5 or 6 total, so we did proportionally quite well last week in this category. Congratulations to our Child Welfare Diversion Program staff, focused on specifically working at the point of racial disparities in out-of-home displacements. We've so far since the middle of August had 20 diverted placements specific to this program as we work in new and different ways in social services. Additionally, the COAST team, Community Outreach and Stabilization Unit, in which there's a partnership between law enforcement and social workers to conduct outreach and follow-up on crisis calls related to mental health, homelessness, and substance abuse. Both of these were 2020 County Achievement Award winners, as I cited, and just as importantly to me, both are examples of actions being taken to address significant areas of disparity, significant areas of continued improvement and need in how government responds and serves its community. So congratulations to social services, the entire health and wellness team, and all of Ramsey County for those county achievement awards. And it wouldn't be a good budget meeting, Madam Chair, if I didn't invite the CFO back up one last time to share one more piece of news with all of you as we close out County Connections today. Director Kutza.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but we are not hearing well. Is this better? Yeah, a little bit better. That's not great.
Thank you. Go. Wow. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I have
Feast or famine. Feast or famine. That's pretty loud. We'll turn that a little bit.
I'll just
Thank you.
back up a little. I have the privilege to let you know that we received for our 2020-21 budget the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Award again. Okay. So I'm really excited about that. And I wanted to take this moment because my deputy, Renee Vogt, is also here. And I want to thank her and the entire budget team because this year, we had a transition last August with Dushani Dye leaving the county. And Renee stepped up immediately in an area that, to be fair to her, isn't her area of expertise. And she leaned in with the entire team and helped get this budget out. And I just really wanted to take a moment to say thank you to her. She's over there. She's not going to come up here, but know that we're all applauding her. Thank you for your work, and thank you to the entire budget team.
Madam Chair, we'll stand with that award being the final update on County Connections today.
Excellent, and thank you for the good news. We really, really do appreciate it, Director Kutza, and also so very much appreciate Renee for your work. And although you won't come and stand and be celebrated, we are all clapping for you and very, very thankful that you've joined us this year. All right. So thank you so much, County Manager, for County Connections. We'll move on to our reports. We have a little time before moving into the next workshop to hear from commissioners. And I will start out by calling on Commissioner McDonough and go alphabetically back up to Commissioners Fretham and Mattis Castillo. Commissioner McDonough.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Three quick things. Ryan already touched base on the Catherine project, but that was quite an honor to represent the board with you, Madam Chair, there. The excitement during that graduation ceremony was pretty pervasive, but the one common theme in each and every one of the participants as they talked about their experience was the ability to develop a network through this cohort that lean on, to be able to be supported on. And as all of us know, those are really important to us in our individual lives. And so many times we forget about people in our community. We might be able to help support them in this way or this way, but some of the best work we could do is really helping them establish relationships and networks that they can help support each other. And that's one of the key things that came out of from the participants in this project. Not only was the skill set of the IT work and them looking forward to a good paying job and potential career, but that connection. So I just want to touch base on that real quick. We had our state health advisory committee meeting check on Friday. That's a quarterly meeting. We had a really good opportunity. Commissioner Malcolm, Commissioner of Public Health, always attends those meetings. But we had a really good opportunity to recognize her and the administration and their leadership this year during COVID and difficult times that we've been through, but also recognizing, and I give her a lot of credit, her recognizing local health departments and how critical they are in the work we've been doing, and recognizing that even though that relationship is strong, it can be stronger in how we maximize our resources there. So that was a good meeting. And then briefly, we're getting really good at figuring out how to try to normalize our lives as best we can with Zoom and WebEx and team meetings. Last week we had our annual Luck Rack conference by Zoom, and typically it's a 3-day conference somewhere in the country where we go and learn about local best practices and national work that's going on, and share ideas and build relationships and connections that help support us in our work. But we did it by Zoom. Over 200 people came together for an afternoon, and I'll call out, they did have a work session on eliminating bail bond, which is some of the work that we've been leading on in this county. So it was good to hear what other communities are doing across the country and continue to push us in this important work that we're doing in the county. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonough. Commissioner McGuire?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, it's time for annual meetings, and so there were a few of them in the last few weeks. AMC also had their annual meeting last Monday, which many of us were on that, where we heard from David Horsager on trust. It was a great keynote speaker, and then we passed our platform, our annual platform for next year. And speaking of bail bond, I tried to get it into our agenda, but we're putting it on for a study and for more information in the Public Safety Committee, so we can hopefully get that on our platform as an organization next year. But anyway, that was the AMC annual meeting. The Ramsey County League of Local Governments also had their annual meeting, as some of us were able to be there. David Schultz spoke there, and we elected a new executive council. I want to give a shout out to Lisa Laliberte, who will not be serving on our executive board again, but she'll continue on her collective work in mental health, which we're really fortunate to have her continue to stay and do that work. I will say that the Blue Ribbon Committee, this is on metropolitan governance, finished our work. We submitted our report of recommendations. Just highlights on that we are recommending to establish 4-year staggered terms for the Met Council, but it continued to be appointed by the governor, but expand the nominating committee to include a majority of local elected officials. Just to let you know, these are all just recommendations. The governor is going to have to see if he wants to incorporate those into any of his proposals. The others you can read about, but a couple of others that we said the Met Council and Transportation Advisory Board should require a supermajority, 3/5 or 60% on federal required actions and recommendations from the tab to the council. So we just upped the percentage of people that have to vote for that. And then also we're recommending that they eliminate the term advisory from the Transportation Advisory Board, because we think that they do much more work than just advise. So Transportation Board or Transportation Planning Board. Those are just some of the highlights of our recommendations on that. And then the Active Living Ramsey Community, we had our quarterly meeting yesterday, and I just want to give a shout out to Chris Lankowski from our Ramsey County Parks and Recreation. It was a great presentation on how we're handling COVID in our Parks and Rec department, and he did a great presentation on our equity and how we're working on equity in our parks. So it was a great meeting. We had almost 30 people on the call. It was a great coming together. Lots of people are interested in active living these days. So those are just some of the highlights, Madam Chair. There's a lot going on with our Child Care Policy Action Group too. We're meeting again on Monday. There's just a lot of interest in that policy action group. So with that, I will pass it on.
And thank you so very much for the work that you're doing, and also to Commissioner Fretham with that policy action group. Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the interest of time, I'll just report on the Food Committee. We met last Monday of last week. We had a listening session with community and got great feedback on how we were progressing and what changes they would like to see. All of these we've put into recommendations to move forward to the board, to management and the board. We have averaged since we got the CARES money, 27,000 meals and 9,000 families per week. So the committee has done a fantastic job. The staff has done a great job. And of course, moving forward, we have, Friday, we had a food committee and got more recommendations from the participants, which of course, includes Greater Ramsey County, and great recommendations, positive about what we've accomplished, and those recommendations for 2021 and how we see things moving forward have been forwarded to the management and the board. So I just want to say that I was happy to serve with these folks. They've done a great job, both the committee and the staff, and it was multi-jurisdictional, and they did a fantastic job. So thank you.
And thank you very much. It's really important to note that it's critical that we work with community to see the head and the tail of the whole elephant, especially in these areas of need during COVID, and that will exist beyond, even as we're continuing to respond. Thank you for your work with food and basic needs as well. I want to call on Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There has been a lot going on in the last couple of weeks. Last night, I had the fun and honor of being part of a reception for outgoing Maplewood City Council member Sylvia Neblett, who, as we know, is chair of our library board, and City Council member Brian Smith. It's always fun to look back and look forward at the same time. The AMC conference has been mentioned already. There were also a number of meetings that were at the state, regional, and national levels. The Minnesota Geospatial Advisory Council met and talked about the needs for data, basically. And when we are dealing with everything from the pandemic to the environment, the geospatial data that we have is incredibly important to make sure we're applying our resources and time and energy in the right locations to get the best outcomes. The Local Government Advisory Committee, which is the small group of about 20 to, I think there's 30 people, elected officials from across the country, as advisory to the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, met, and we passed on a number of different letters to Administrator Wheeler, which he acknowledged and appreciated during the meeting, actually. One was the two that came out of the Revitalizing Communities work group, which I chair, were regarding food waste and the investment that is needed at the federal level to really deal with the issue of food waste and the proper making sure that we're feeding people and also reducing the amount of waste and different options for that, just as we are doing in Ramsey and Washington counties, and through the partnership on waste and energy with Hennepin County as well. The other was community-based environmentalism and trying to make sure that local communities are more involved in how we move forward, recognizing that one size does not fit all. I also, at the Local Government Advisory Committee, we talked about the FEMA BRIC program, which is the Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, and that is out of FEMA. That was also a major presentation at the IBTS conference or annual meeting. That is a nonprofit engineering consulting firm that is in partnership with the National Association of Counties, and I serve as the NACO representative to that board. So that is kind of the highlight of things. There's a lot that's going on as we are moving into the 2021 year and all of the changes that will take place. And just really, I think our legislative platform and getting that wrapped up and knowing that it's flexible at the same time is going to be incredibly important, because we've got a lot of really important work that needs to be done. And I'm, again, very proud of our of our county board for keeping our eye on the right priorities and values and moving forward. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Commissioner Reinhardt. I can't help to say, I know you've spoken about a number of different areas where you represent us, and in particular in the environmental area and connecting that to waste management. We so appreciate your effective trash talking that you do for us. I just had to say it. Moving on.
Thank you.
To Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you, Chair Carter. I know we've got a lot to do, so I'll try to be brief, but there is just a lot going on right now. Last week, the Financial Implications Subcommittee reconvened to check in and see how cities are holding up. Many of the cities we spoke to, those that are represented in our subcommittee that attended the meeting, indicated that they were able to fully spend their CARES allotments, that they are still struggling, particularly without ways to close the revenue losses that they're facing, and that they continue to hope for additional federal investment as we do. We also were able to connect on the potential. This was before the state passed their spending package and COVID relief package. So we were able to preemptively connect on that and talk about ways we can continue to partner and that cities can amplify any opportunities for additional funding available and administered through the county. So that was a good meeting, and we plan to meet again soon. Also, last week, MPCA held a hearing for a minor amendment for Water Gremlin, looking to modify some of their coding procedures. This is the plant that has impacted residents in White Bear Township, Venice Heights, and White Bear Lake and Gem Lake with some environmental issues and violations. So the community continues to be very engaged in this process, and a reminder that anyone who wants to submit written comments to the minor amendment has until, I believe it is Thursday of this week, to submit them. They must be submitted in writing, and the MPCA will be reviewing and responding to written comments. And finally, this weekend, I was able to participate in an event honoring the volunteers at Tamarack Nature Center over the last year. There are many volunteers that participate in activities like the maple tapping, in educational activities, bird banding, the bee care and gardening, and so grateful. One of the funnest things I did last year was being a part of the volunteer event, and really grateful that the staff were able to come up with a safe, socially distant way to honor volunteers. It was a drive-through event. They had a drive-through photo booth, which was hilarious, a taxidermy scavenger hunt, and they even managed to have a drive-up musician performing. So it was quite remarkable. So thrilled to be able to participate, and special kudos to Noelle, who, it's my understanding, conceptualized and organized the whole event, and many of the volunteers were so grateful. It was a chilly day to stand outside for 2 hours, but really, really glad I got to be a part of it. So thank you again to all of our volunteers and the amazing staff at Tamarack for pulling that together. And that's all I have. Thank you.
And thank you so much for the updates, in particular to hear about the celebration of our volunteers in such a creative fashion. Commissioner Matis Castillo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things. We had a meeting yesterday with the city and the county together, along with Mothers Against Community Gun Violence. As you know, we have, and the family of Nia Black, who was killed outside the Lamplighter last year, really thinking about how do we address this issue of gun violence. As we know, we've been working with Healing from the Streets. But I just want to keep this issue on the forefront of everyone's minds, as we have seen an increase in community gun violence, which disproportionately impacts our Black and Brown communities. In fact, while we were in the meeting just 2 doors down, there was another homicide in the North End neighborhood. And so this is really relevant, and it's really on the forefront of what we're working on in partnership with Healing Streets, our community partners, and really thinking about too, as you know, earlier this year we declared racism a public health crisis it's all part of it, and it plays a part in our role in that. And so I just want to keep reminding that we have a lot of work going on. The violence in our community is concerning and not acceptable, and that we have a lot of players really looking at how do we address this, how do we go upstream, how do we heal our community, how do we prevent more gun violence, and how do we advocate at the federal and state level to reduce the number of guns on our streets. And so I just wanted to raise that issue because I hear from a lot of constituents that say nobody's paying attention or policymakers don't care, but we do care, and we are working on it with the tools we have at hand, and we need that partnership as we go upstream. And so I wanted to address that. The other two things quickly. We have, as we know, great work is happening. The Met Council is currently at a place where they're selecting their final ABRT routes or a bus rapid transit route. And on the list of final choices is the Rice-Roberts line, which is the F line. And I want to encourage everyone to go to the metrotransit.org website and vote and weigh in on the Rice-Robert line. Again, this supports our values as a county board about racial equity and communities that are disproportionately impacted from the lack of available transportation. This would meet a huge need all the way from Roseville down to Dakota County in our areas that have that great need to get them to access to transit as well as jobs and the daily routine of transit availability. So please go to the Met Council and vote. And lastly, the survey is out now for the Rice Street Visioning Study at ramseycounty.us/ if you look up the Rice Street, or it's available on my Facebook page. We want people to weigh in. Staff in our Public Works Department and Transportation work really hard to put racial equity at a forefront as well as community engagement, and they're doing a fantastic job. And so we want your input and continued engagement in those areas as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you so very much, Commissioner Maez-Castillo, for those. We really do appreciate all of the work that's going on in Ramsey County. Because of time, I am going to forego giving a full report. In addition to the workshops that we have coming up, we have a Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting and a Regional Rail Authority meeting. We will remain on this link for those meetings immediately after this meeting. This afternoon, we have a county board, later this morning, we have a county board workshop on countywide competency. Okay, on countywide competency model and performance management, our new framework. And we also have a 1:30 county board workshop on economic competitiveness and inclusion vision plan. So there's lots of work to get to yet, with many, many thanks to all that have been mentioned. The one thing I don't think I heard mentioned was that this past week, we did have the listening sessions on the sheriff's role in Ramsey County. And I need to say a big thanks to Prince Corbett and to all who supported that work, but just for the ability to hear from our community and to ensure that working with an elected official, as is the sheriff's office, we are able to, together with the input of the community and the focus on our vision and mission and goals, ensure the alignment in the work that we need within that realm of public safety, which we know is inclusive of other aspects as well that are not typically thought of as a part of public safety, but that have so much to do in contribution to keeping our community as safe as possible. So thank you so much to Prince Corbett and all who supported the listening sessions. Thank you again. I'm going to then declare, without seeing any additional comment, that our meeting is adjourned, and we will come back within the next 30 seconds for our Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting, which will be chaired by Commissioner Maez-Castillo, and then our Regional Rail Authority will follow that, chaired by Commissioner Ortega, and we'll have a separate link then for our board workshop at 10:30. Thank you so very much. This meeting is now adjourned.